I wanted to give a brief update about MidnightBSD. Um, Currently, we're doing some updates to the system. I just committed a patch that allows us to disable trim on SSDs that have like bad firmwares. There's some older like Crucial drives and a couple other brands that just have issues. And if you update the latest firmware on the drives, they're fine. But just to kind of help people so they don't have like weird timeout errors, things like that. There's also some controllers that specifically have an issue. The AS Media, some of their older SATA controllers will time out if trim is enabled. So we've added that. I've also fixed the bug recently with the package manager that a lot of people reported with MidnightBSD 1.0 release. So that's been committed both to 1.0 and to the current branch. So if you update your libimport library, it should solve the crash problems people have had with installing like a bunch of packages at once. Or like if you do import install xorg and it's pulling like 20 packages, you might have saw bus errors or seg faults. So the issue with that was that there was a problem freeing the memory for the index of all the packages that are loaded. So kind of a stupid bug, but it affected a lot of people. So I strongly recommend that you update that. In terms of packages right now, I've been updating a lot of the GNOME and GTK related ports in order to get newer web browsers working. So Midori is working and Epiphany is also working. Um, there are a few problems right now building the tech ports. So I'm looking into that still. There were some framework changes with the import like makefiles right before the release, and I think that caused some issues with that. So I'm looking into that. I've also noticed that there's a couple of problems with some of the Python ports. Doing the like make config step, you might see it kind of hang a few times. The workaround right now is to hit enter a couple times real quick and it should go away, but that's not good. So I'm looking into that. I think there's an include problem there. So those are the big issues that we have right now. Um, Otherwise, I think the 1.0 release went reasonably well considering how dramatically different it was from the 0.86 release. So I know there's been some talk online about some bugs with release and package availability and so on. And as I said in my previous update, that's something we definitely need to work on and improve. So hopefully that will get solved. Otherwise, there's not really much going on with the project at the moment. I'm mostly focusing on package-related things, not doing a lot of software updates. The next release, like 1.1, will probably happen early next year. I've recently learned about some Perl vulnerabilities and a couple of other things in base that I need to patch, and we can't update Perl right now without um, kind of breaking compatibility with packages. So that will have to get done in the 1.1 release. And that's pretty much it. If anyone has any questions about the release or anything like that, feel free to comment on the video or um, just go hit our forums, email me, any Facebook, whatever. We've had a lot of questions about installing and graphics driver support and things like that, and I'm happy to answer those questions. Finally, I wanted to point out that on the 5th of this month, we had the MidnightBSD book went live on Apple Books, and it's free on Apple Books. It's the original edition from August, but so there's a couple chapters that are available in the Amazon version now that are not available in that version, but the Amazon version also costs money. So if you want to help out the project, buy it on Amazon for $5, and that helps us support the servers and the infrastructure and everything. If you just can't afford it or whatever, get it on Apple Books, and you can get some free documentation there. Lastly, I wanted to talk briefly about the release and kind of what happened with that. So we had a lot of downloads through the AWS CloudFront infrastructure. So we had AWS bill of about $220 for last month with downloads, and that was like 90% of that was bandwidth, because we've prepaid, reserve instances and so on for the year. So that was a pretty good. That's probably the highest I've seen it for the CDN network. Additionally, we had the server, CPU on the web server was pegged for it over a week, solid 100%. The load average was going into a couple hundred at some points. Um, I've since upgraded that server. I've replaced it with it was an Intel Core i7 7700. I've replaced it with an AMD Ryzen 1800. So it actually is helping a lot with parallel performance. So I also found that there's a bug, well, not a bug, but a hardware problem with the server. The cable for the SSD for the primary disk in the server, it's got a couple SSDs in it, was actually bad, and so it was causing read timeouts on a couple of things. So that's been corrected as well. So hopefully, like people that have had problems downloading packages and things like that are going to be in a lot better shape. In terms of package downloads, I know some users ask me about how do I use the package mirror, because all of the packages are also mirrored to the AllBSD mirror in Japan. So right now, the URL for the mirror has been added to the latest package build, and going forward, we're going to do that. I'm working on a feature to let you select which package source you want to use in import. So when you're downloading packages, you can do that. If you delete the US mirror out of the index, which is a SQLite database, you can just open it up. You can do SQLite 3 var db import index.db, I believe it is, and open up that file, and then there's a settings table in there that has the URL in it. So just update it there, and you can use the mirror that way. The code will actually fall back to the US mirror by default if it is unable to do anything like get the index or whatever. So it has like a fallback mechanism, but that's probably the best way to handle it right now. And I am working on, kind of finalizing that feature and getting it available, because I know a lot of people get upset about how slow my primary internet connection is here. And, that thing is literally hosted in my basement. And I'll do a video soon of the actual server infrastructure in the basement, how it's set up, because I know some people have been curious about that. But it's just a couple of servers in a rack in the basement on a cable modem. So it's very easy to be overwhelmed with traffic. So that's why I always recommend downloading the releases from mirrors and things like that. So thanks for hearing me out today. And if you have questions, just leave them in the feedback, and I'll try to answer them. Thanks.